Speaking of guys making moves, my guy LaMelo Ball, man. What do y'all think, man? Should he have gone to college, or do you think that this pro route that he's taking is probably going to be better preparation for him to play in the NBA? Because right now, he's looking as like a lottery pick.
Well, all right. So I'll definitely start on this one. I feel like just the way that he really is performing overseas right now was perhaps the best move he could have made. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because of the fact that he's out there, he's able to play against former NBA players. He's playing against grown men. He's taking a Luka Doncic approach, like I said before. But the amount of exposure, he's playing in one of the most competitive leagues in the world outside of the NBA. And he's showing that he has the scoring ability. He's showing that he has a playmaking ability. He's actually dominating out there. Like, despite, with the Hawks, I'm not even going to try to say the town name or whatever. But he still is doing his thing. He had, like, back-to-back triple-doubles, if I'm not mistaken. He's put up, like, a cold hard 20, 30 points a few times while he's been playing out there. So he's making his draft stock go way up because, like I said, I've told people before, playing in college is a little bit overrated when it comes to when you compare it to playing overseas. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because of the fact that overseas you're going against grown men. They're more focused on the fundamentals. When you look at college basketball, you don't see the fundamentals like that. You see a lot of ISO ball, and you're not even, the level of competition is not even there. Like, you dominate at the beginning of the season if you're a big team in the country, or big time team in the country, because you're supposed to win all your non-conference games. You're not really taking on anybody worthwhile unless you're like in the ACC and whatnot, you know.
True.
But the fact that he's showing that he's as young as he is, and he's actually dominating. I said that LaMelo would be the number one pick. I said that he would be the number one pick. My issue would be, only issue I have with him is size.
Okay.
Really?
Size. Like, it's not that he doesn't have the height. I just think because of muscle size. Like, muscle, being able to get into the paint, being able to finish strong. Like, he doesn't absolutely have that right now. I think that would be the only problem he has. But I just think, otherwise, though, he's a really good overall player that could really help any franchise move forward. And the way it's looking right now, the Golden State Warriors going to get that number one pick. So him alongside Steph,
send him to Oakland.
Like,
hot take.
Him and Steph teaming up, you know, like it would be amazing. Him going to the Knicks, like that would be awesome too. You know, I'm just looking at the teams that have the worst records in the league as those that could get the lottery pick.
Interesting.
What'd you take on?
First of all, I agree. Oakland, the Pelicans, and New York fighting for that lottery pick. Well, LaMelo Ball, I feel like he's definitely pushing the envelope and allowing, you know, we've seen the RJ Hamptons of the world, the LaMelo Balls, skipping college, not necessarily skipping college, but just going to the overseas game, then pursuing the draft. He's definitely, you know, making a good mark on that. Like you said, LaMelo Ball, an 18-year-old, averaging triple doubles, averaging 20s, 20 and 10s, having great stats overseas, and one of the most competitive league closest to, or like one that's not just below the NBA. I think he made a great move, like you said. First of all, when he came out of high school, everyone knew it was him and his dad and the big baller brand. He wouldn't be able to play or be eligible to play in NCAA anyways with him having his own shoe. And which he did say he would have chosen USC, I remember in an Instagram post. So he kind of had no other choice. But then watching it now, and people, you know, bashing him like, oh, his dad's pushing him overseas. He's too small. He's too young. He's not going to produce. They're all eating their words now. Because my man, like you said, he's put himself in a position to be that number one draft pick, for sure, a top 5 lottery pick. His vision, his playmaking is ahead of his time. So when you said that his size, he's a 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" point guard, and to me, honestly, I think his best attribute, like he is a scorer, but his playmaking is ahead of his time and ahead of anyone in the draft, in my opinion. I don't see any other guard coming within the 2020 draft class that has a better feel for the game than he does. I think his floor general style puts him ahead of a lot of people within the NCAA. I agree also, like, people have this big idea like, oh yeah, I play for the Blue Bloods, the Dukes, the Carolinas, the Kentuckys, and any other conferences as well that are better than the overseas players. You gotta think, man, college kids are trying to get to the league in which, I mean, you're going against people that are overseas that are like putting food on their table, so it means a little bit more to them, and I ain't gonna say grimy or playing harder, but it's more, they have more of a reason, so that's more of a push for them compared to like college kids who are just trying to get put on. I'm not saying that those college kids don't have the same grind and grit and motivation to get to the league, but it's a different vibe out there. Like the rules, physicality, I think that the NBL, I believe, they have a tougher route, and I think they're better than college themselves. LaMelo, I personally have my personal own first #1 draft pick. I have Anthony Edwards, guard wise, but if LaMelo Ball is a #1 overall pick, I can see why. I don't have any problem with that. I mean, he's just an all-out baller, man, and I just want him to continue to succeed and see where it goes from there. The sky's the limit. His potential is out of the roof. So,
honestly, I think for LaMelo, playing pro was going to be the best move. And honestly, for a lot of these top prospects, I think playing pro is probably the best move. As you see, with guys like James Wiseman, he's now ineligible playing for college. He was only going there for 1 year anyways.
right.
But now you're not playing basketball and your draft stock is slipping because you are not able to play. And it's not even necessarily off of anything that you did. Apparently back in the day, Penny donated money, which was able to assist his family in moving, and he was basically calling it a veteran aider. And with him being his coach, may have been basically he was trying to persuade him to come, is what the NCAA is trying to say.
Right.
And now the NCAA, which is honestly only really hurting the fans that want to see him play, they're hurting James Wiseman as well because, like I said, his draft stock is dropping now because he's not able to play. He's not getting that competition against top players in the country. He's not getting that game feel, that game run, and scouts aren't able to see him anymore. So now you've hurt his stock. You've hurt the fans that want to come to Memphis games all across the country. You're hurting Memphis in the process. And at the end of the day, I feel like the NCAA just doesn't care about the players enough. While we have guys that are going pro overseas, like you said, one of the issues with LaMelo, I feel like he was a little slight. Like I said, I feel like I can agree with that. He grew 7 inches quickly, but that was one of his goals going over there. And with him going over there, you don't have school or anything like that to worry about. You're just going over there, just working out. I saw those Instagram posts of him. It was like about 4 a.m. He's getting shots up, working on his game. That's probably not a privilege that you're allowed in college. He's able to go over there and spend basically a year working on his game, fine-tuning his game, learning from pros, meeting all these people. He's making a salary, so he's able to, learn quickly how to manage that money and what it may take to do this, and this. He's being able to market himself. He's able to work with companies. There's things that a college student cannot do. A college athlete is not allowed to do these things. So I feel like he's already getting a step ahead in terms of just the business side, as well as just working, getting better. And I feel like you can see it from game 1. He's coming off the bench, struggling a little bit. He started off season, his jump shot wasn't falling as much. Now his confidence is back. He's putting up 30-something points. He's putting up triple doubles. He's putting 20+ point games. He's getting better. Even R.J. Hampton, who was a guy I was a little bit skeptical about. Him going over there, as you can see, start off season, he did not play very well at all. He was not really getting too many minutes. You look at him being able to play against NBA teams, he didn't put up 10 points combined against at least multiple NBA teams that he was able to play. But now he's starting to catch a rhythm. He's starting to, maybe the game's slowing down for him, because now I think it's just you have so much more time to focus on basketball, so much more to learn versus, like I said, that you're being tied down with maybe school, the social life, things like that. You're kind of away from everything when you're just in a situation for you to get better. I feel like that's just the best opportunity. And like you said, college sometimes is a hindrance to a lot of players that are trying to improve themselves. Like you look at guys like James Wiseman, who's going to be one of possibly the #1 pick coming into the season, but now your college did you dirty and you're not able to play. And
True.
I just feel like the game itself is just you're way more likely to adapt to an NBA game playing against professionals. The game is a little bit different. The style is a little bit more suited to guys that are going to play against it in the NBA, guys that are quicker, etc. A lot of guys in college, they're just there to be on the team. Everybody on the professional team is earning a contract, so everyone there is on the professional team is there for a reason. College, you can have a lot of guys that are just, they knew somebody, maybe they can jump high, maybe they can run fast, maybe their GPA is on point, you can get on the team. Not necessarily saying that's true for everybody, but there's a lot more of those than there is guys in the professional ranks. So I feel like that's a great decision for him to make.
Last thing I want to add, we're not saying don't go to school, like, you know what I'm
Definitely,
saying?
Get your education.
Get your education.
Not everyone's a one and done. Not
Exactly.
everyone is a one and done.
For sure. We're saying, you know what I'm saying, like, a lot of these guys, especially the top players, they have in mind, their dreams and aspiration is to go to the NBA, or if you want to say in football, NFL. So kind of thinking like, you know, why waste time potentially wasting a scholarship of an academic year that can be given to someone else who kind of wants to pursue maybe that more academic route? And why not just focus on what you want to do, pursue your dreams? You know what I'm saying? Like you said, many of these guys are just there just to get the exposure, attention, hoop, and just go to the league. Like Ben Simmons, for example.
Yeah.
Like he said, he wasn't going to class. Like I believe when he came from Australia and went to Mount Verde and went to LSU, he had in mind, I'm just trying to get to the league no matter what. I'm not going to say he said bump classes, but he's more focused on honing his skill set like LaMelo Ball and RJ Hampton and other top players that are playing overseas to get where he needs to be. They kind of feel as if the other stuff is just a hindrance and a time and just a time waster. I've even had, I think, Kobe White, for example, on Snapchat, and Cole Anthony as well. And I believe on the Snapchat story, my man Kobe White was so tired, like, he was like practically sleeping in class. That people take, you know what I'm saying, they're like, man, what am I doing here? I'm wasting time. Which I feel as though the NBA and NCAA should kind of do a better job in like allowing these kids to be more free and take it better, or take their own path and career and passion into their own hands. So I mean, can't fault them for doing what they want to do.
Yeah, I just gotta double down with you. Like you said, go to school. There's really only a handful of guys that even had the opportunity to realistically be a legitimate one and done prospect. You have a lot of guys that can kind of ride their way into the draft just off of the hype surrounding their name, and then, you know, they kind of get to the college ranks or the NBA ranks, and they're kind of like, you got exposed. So there's only, I think, a handful of people that really should even be considering a route. But if you're only in school to play sports, and you end up leaving school early, you graduate, and your GPA is very poor because you're only focused on sports, I would just say, if you're only dreaming about sports, I would just say take the route of, if you have an opportunity to play somewhere for money, do that.
Exactly.
Come back to school, if that is what you ended up wanting to do anyways. But I definitely think that it's the route to take for a lot of guys. It prepares you a lot better. But, you know, a lot of things they're thinking about, guys are skipping college but to play pros, but now they're talking about guys who possibly be able to come out of high school as early as this graduating class. Do you think that would be a good move?
Yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
My thoughts on that, at just seeing players like Kobe, LeBron, Kevin Garnett, or Stoudemire, you know, those players that came out of high school, they came out and they were able to start dominating from the get-go. Like, people knew what they were able to offer on the court, you know, so it's kind of like they would not have had a problem with transitioning because, I mean, LeBron averaged like 25 and 5 his rookie season. Kobe was averaging like cold hard 18 per game. You know, that's just a couple, for instance, because I'm familiar with those two. But they were able to come out of high school and dominate. The whole thing is, everybody doesn't have that ability to come out the gates in high school and go ahead and make an impact in a league as big as the NBA. Because the whole thing is, you got to put it in this perspective though. The NBA has like maybe 400 of the top like the top 400 best basketball players in the world. And so to get a roster spot like that out of millions, billions of people all over the world that want that exact same opportunity, you got to work for it. You got to work for it. And the whole thing is, I don't think it would be fair for those that chose to go to college or go overseas, you know, that want to play in the league. I don't think it would be fair for them to have that roster spot go because they saw somebody just dominate in high school. My thing is, I've seen so many Instagram videos, different YouTube videos that show these high school prospects eating on high school players. And the whole thing is to go from high school players, like down here, this is where I put it. Like high school players defensively, stuff like that, they're not like that.
No.
They're not like that. To go from here all the way up there with NBA talent, where's the middle ground? Where's the middle ground that's giving your game a chance to develop even more? Because I think at the end of the day, when you come out of high school, your game's not fully developed. That's why before you go professional, like with football, you go to college and you play. You try to get on a good team. You try to make your name known. You know, just put it out there. You put your game out there, and then scouts see, and they're like, okay, this person's worth recruiting. You know, baseball. You try to play at the best baseball schools in the country. You get your name out there, and you get drafted if you can. Basketball, you have the option to play professionally overseas. You can go to college. I'd say they should not allow high school players to come out because the whole thing is, like, physically, their body's not even fully developed in high school either. I mean, of course, you got people like Zion Williamson, you know, that can eat in high school, that can already show that they have a lot of promise with that. But more times than not, you'll come across players that are lacking in one thing or the other. That, actually, I can't say just one thing or the other, multiple things. And I think that it's not fair to take that roster spot away from a college player or professional player that played overseas because you saw a nice talent in high school. Anybody can eat in high school. That's my belief. You get on a high school team, you eat in the state, you eat within the city. Your name's out there, right?
True.
But my thing is, you got hundreds, thousands of other high school kids that's doing the exact same thing you're doing. So my thing is, my question to the players would be, if I was a GM, I'd be like, what makes your game stand out from this person over here that played college or this person that played overseas? And if you could really tell me that, then maybe I'd consider drafting. But because I bet you most of these players cannot answer that question, you know, or at least with an answer that has not been heard of before, I don't think they should allow that to happen. That's my take on it.
Interesting take. I agree with you that, well, first of all, the Kobe's, Kevin Garnett's, the Dwight Howards, LeBrons of the world, they're once in a generational type players within their own decades. So, I mean, if that like you said, that is a huge skill level jump from high school to, like you said, the top 400 players within the world. From, like, I agree with you from a body physicality level that, I mean, that's, you know, you're playing with grown men and then you're playing against 17, 18, 16-year-olds. Where I do kind of disagree or find a little like error within is when you said it seems like you kind of have a little sympathy for those that you feel is who worked hard within the college and the overseas game. But then when I think of it like from a GM's perspective or even a coach, they don't necessarily, I don't think they think that way. They're just trying to win games. So if you can contribute right away, regardless if you played 2 or 3 years overseas or 2 or 3 years in college, if you're a overall better player in high school at 17 to 18 years old and you're better than this 20-year-old, I'm going to take you in my spot. Like, for example, I believe we all can agree we would take a Kevin Garnett over, let me think of someone that's played 2 or 3 years. over, okay, let's say a junior in college. Even though the junior in college been there and got that experience for playing, let's say, top talent within the college realm, Kevin Garnett is 9 times out of 10 better than that player because he was the number 1 overall pick at a young age. Now, you know, some naysayers, like you said, some people do have that mindset, but I don't think that should be a criteria, nor do I think many GMs or coaches look at that criteria when going about things. Right. So I'm like, yeah. But everything else I agree with. But also it's like, if you can make that transition and necessarily show them rather than tell them that you have the potential, because all when teams draft is they draft based off potential, your age and what you could possibly be in 4 or 5 years. How can you contribute and help my team win? So we can agree on that. Like I think that's the mindsets of these people that are drafting. So I mean, I wouldn't let age stop anyone. If you can prove that you can play on that level, then go ahead. I mean, Darius from 2017 class, I believe, went over. Like he didn't play overseas, but he was an intern for Nike as well as play for the G League, and he didn't necessarily have to go to Syracuse to show that he can play in the league. But I mean, I think it's just your talent, honestly, and it's a gamble. But I think the NBA should allow that to happen.
Yeah, that's my only stance on it, is that at the end of the day, it's a gamble. Yeah. But I don't think there's really any high school players that understand that these guys aren't in the NBA. These guys are pros. These guys are making millions of dollars. Right. You're not playing against anybody in high school that is going to sit there and simulate the NBA experience. Guys are just not ready. There's a lot of guys that are talented in high school, but they're just not that ready because, like, at the end of the day, there's a gap between the amount of hours you put in versus a lot of times the hours that these guys put in terms of time and all that. You being 18 versus guys that are 25 plus, at the end of the day, they're more likely more skilled than you are. The guys that are in high school, half of them haven't even hit puberty. It's like you're not playing against people that for one time. Then there's another thing. Is a lot of guys, like going back to the guys that are in college for a reason. There's plenty of guys in high school. Yeah. And there's more so, if anything, that are just on the team because they know somebody. Their dad's the coach. Their GPA is on point. And they can run the job.
To talk about it, man.
Like you're not even a lot of these top prep schools. Yeah. You're not playing against anything that's going to simulate NBA competition, which I think there's more of now versus the time that guys like LeBron and Kobe and all that did come out. For sure. But going back to another thing that you said was about the instant impact that a lot of these guys made. Kobe Bryant didn't average double figures, I don't believe, until his third year in the NBA. He came to the super stat Lakers squad. Right. He had to make a lot of adjustments, and which is a lot of things with a lot of guys that I believe also that are top guys in high school. A lot of these guys are even being coached. Yeah, when you're just that talented, who am I going to be as a coach to maybe yell at you and you just, man, forget you, I'm out of here. If you leave, you probably have a job, nobody's coming to the games anymore. They have that power. So a lot of these guys, they're not coaching these kids. You can come down and take 40 shots if you want to. All bad shots, not play defense, whatever the case is. Because the coach at the end of the day is not going to yell at you. So there's a difference between having that type of freedom to come into a squad where every possession counts. Yeah. Everything is not going to work in your favor. And a lot of them guys are horrible in making that adjustment because they just never not been the man. So I think there's just too many factors to understand. And then it's just, of course, the simple psychological aspect that these guys are 18 versus guys that are pros. You probably haven't even had, maybe you had an allowance. What are you going to do with millions of dollars? True. You don't know how to manage that money. So you're not ready for back-to-backs, constant traveling.
82 games. I'm about to say 82 game season compared to 30. Like, that would wear your body down.
And a lot of guys are not ready for that. You're not ready for maybe prepping your body. A lot of these guys aren't working at the level as NBA guys are, professional guys are. They don't understand that this is a grind that they're taking the entire day of. Like I said, the guys that did come out of the high school previously, there's a lot of them that did work out, and there's a lot of them that didn't work out. There's just such a transitional phase that I think there's a lot of guys that just aren't ready for it. And honestly, I just don't think there's that many guys that aren't easily ready and are available to even make that jump into the NBA out of high school. There's just not too many guys that you kind of. LeBron was getting, draft talk at 16 years old.
Yeah.
16, they were talking about, I'll take him right now. It was the number one pick.
Not once in a generational.
This is and this is the guy that's the top player of the guys that are in the NBA. So for him to be at benchmark, as I think, is just a lot of things that a lot of these guys can't live up to. Because being a guy that can average 15 points a game is pretty solid in the NBA. But a lot of guys don't even do that. A lot of guys are struggling to get off the bench, and I think honestly, you being in that position is just not something that like.
I'm saying improve the draft stock and just if you can prove that you can actually compete with the NBA players, if you can actually prove it, which I don't know how you're gonna do that when you're in high school, but if you can prove that you can actually compete with the world's best players. Because it's not just players in the U.S. that are in the NBA. You got to think though that you got international players too that dominated over in their countries and have made their names onto an NBA roster. If you can prove you can play, by all means go for it. But I just feel that in terms of being able to fully develop your game, the thing that these high school players could do is just take, like you said, do the one and done with college. If you're that good. I say otherwise, get your degree, because you're basically saying that, I got a shot of getting my name onto an NBA roster. Mm-hmm. When you got so many players every single year that have that exact same mentality, but you got 400 spots in the NBA that are filled with veterans. You still got the superstars in the league that are still staying, that are not going anywhere anytime soon. Right. So it's kind of like, don't risk being rejected, or denied a spot in the NBA unless you know for a fact that you're getting your name on the roster. So I say go to college, get your degree so you have something to fall back on, go to school, get your education, go overseas and play if you want to play professionally so bad. Because they got more opportunities over there than got over here in the US. So that's my thought.
I totally agree, man. First of all, it's like less than 2% of top college criminal crop players that get drafted from one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then we can use the Jalen LeCue and Anthony Simons as an example, who both went to post-grad schools. Jalen went to Brewster, Anthony Simmons, who went to IMG. Anthony Simmons, even though, he was one of the top high school prospects, like you said, there are still veterans and superstars within the league. He's playing behind Damian Lillard. And exactly, so he's not getting that time they're getting. And even though he did have like 25 and 18 and 20-point games, he's still not receiving those minutes. And he can receive that leadership and that guidance and education as to how to go about becoming a professional. He kind of has to wait until past their prime or move on to another team. And also with Jalen LeCue, his athleticism was amazing throughout high school, but I definitely feel as though he should have spent at least that year at NC State to get that more notoriety, because he was almost undrafted and his game is definitely not translating as well from the high school game into the pro game. So I feel like if he had more time to develop and just show off his attributes besides athleticism, he'd be a pretty good, decent player. But like you said, if you have once in a generational talent, be my guest. But 9 times out of 10, like Ben said and referred to as well as Daniel, we don't see any once in a generational talent anytime soon. But you never know though, so it's definitely a gamble.
Yeah, like you said, it's just a gamble. We don't really have any players. I think the last guy that we might have seen was Zion. Yeah. But as you can see early, like you said, it's a gamble, bro. He went down with an injury early. You can't really see how well these guys are going to pan out. And like you said, with other guys like Simons and LeCue, who went to high school and spent a postgraduate year, so they basically did their one and done, and they're still not where they need to be necessarily. Right. Like I said, Simons, a guy was a top player in high school, but in high school, you being 6'4", you're bigger than everybody. Right. You can play any position you want to in high school. In college, you may have had a slight transition, but in in the NBA, you're a one. Yeah. You have to play the one. So you spent your whole life playing at this position. you're gonna have trouble trying to adjust and trying to be this player. Like you said, while I think his game is more suited because he was more skilled than LeQ.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you probably won't get that opportunity to show off that skill because you're playing behind Dame and CJ. And then the other issue with it is a lot of times guys drafted are getting 2-year contracts.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. If your teams draft out potential, but if you don't seem to be improving very quickly, so that potential doesn't really mean anything. It's not like potential, like Greek Freak had potential, but it took 7 years to wait for it.
Right.
Yeah.
These teams a lot of times don't have the time, the money to be waiting 7 years for you to possibly develop into something.
Right.
You have these 1 to 2 year contracts, and they're like, if I don't see anything happening now, you can be tough. So even if you was a guy that is talented, if you're not necessarily seeing the playing time that you may have wanted, it is tough for you to get to where you want to be. So I just don't think it's necessarily the best decision. I mean, having an opportunity there, I think I don't even think it helps high schoolers. Like colleges moving back the date for guys to enter the draft, I think is somewhat helpful for guys that are thinking to improve their game. Kind of get that shock value of, oh, this is what it's like to practice at this level, play against guys at this level. So they're able to, okay, now that I enter the draft, I can come back to school and these are things I need to work on. I mean, even, I feel like it would oversaturate the guys that need to be there. If you add in high school guys that realistically, maybe one of them guys that we even have an opportunity to play and be a good guy, be a good player, pretty average player in some time in the NBA. I just feel like it would oversaturate with a lot of guys that think they're good, or I just don't necessarily think it's helpful, and like you said, it would overshadow guys that are supposed to be there. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily think it would be a great move, but I mean, if that's something that they are looking into, I guess